everybody, and welcome to this week's TradeStation market review. My name's Craig Cobb. I'm filling in for Simon Clark, and we're starting the week on the 21st of September. Now I'm going to go through and have a look at some of these markets of interest that I've gone through on my scan, and just walk you through that step by step. Now the Dow, the YM contract is the first one that I want to look at, as it is a consistency of Simon's throughout the last few months, and there was quite a bit that went on last week, as a matter of fact. And if I just focus our attention right away on this weekly chart, well, what you can actually see is, of course, we've got a downtrend with a lower high and then a lower low. We've also got this drive back up into this candle we see as last week's candle, and a very big rejection. Now we see price, when it moves into these moving averages, often it will be the catalyst for the continuation of a trend, as we saw throughout this uptrend. Pull back in, move away, again and again and again and again and again. Now what we're seeing at this point is the opposite way around. Of course, this being an uptrend throughout this period of time, now we're in a downtrend. Price has moved up into this 17th, or not quite into 17,000, but up around 16.9 roughly. Of course, we're actually, let's just call it what it is, 16,846 thereabouts. Bit of support here, bit of resistance. Is it significant? Well, yeah, it is now. It's significant now because it's the most recent level of resistance for price to potentially stop at, and it halted there on the dot just about. It's also in a downtrend, it's also in these moving averages, and it's also a very bearish candle indeed. Now let me just jump up here and have a look at this on the daily and show you how that looks. So we saw price move up into there, and somewhat of an uptrend started, and to be fair, it kind of isn't an uptrend at the minute on the daily, because this could potentially become a higher low. With that being said, it certainly isn't a wonderful uptrend. Even if it was clearer, I wouldn't be that keen on it at the minute. I'm much more bearish on the YM as it stands, just simply because, like I say, we rejected that level, that first level of resistance, or potential resistance, which has become resistance, and sold off quite heavily. I mean, we've lost a good 600, or just the high 500 amount of points back down, and we saw a big seller day, and opening again today. We're holding at these lows. So I actually quite like this to the downside. Now, there's not much point in looking at the 8 hour, the 2 hour, or any lower time frames for the time being for me. Okay, because my bearishness view comes from that weekly chart. Okay, what I do want to see is this: for my bearishness to be, I guess, confirmed in my own head, I want to see price break down through last week's lows. If we can see price break down through last week's lows, then we will see. And let me just show that to you again, what that actually looks like. If we can see price break down through last week's lows here, then I believe we'll continue to see the YM decline throughout the week. If we are to break down through those lows, I'll be looking for opportunities on multiple time frames. I don't care if it's the 5 minute, the 1 minute, the 15 minute, or the 8 hour. It doesn't worry me. I'll be looking for opportunities to the downside should I be given those. Now on to foreign exchange. There's a couple that I wanted to look at. First of all, it's Swiss yen, and whilst we are on the weekly chart, I think the weekly is actually where there's a bit going on there. So once this loads up, here we go. Yeah, so the weekly, here we go. We'll have a look at that first. You can see here we are in a downtrend once more. Here's the interesting level through here. Okay, so we can see that there's some strong resistance. Price has just tapped into that, and it's a bearish candle. Now while we're here, I'll jump down now onto the daily time frame, and you can actually see how that's played out. Let me just zoom out a little bit. So that's that level of resistance. It's support, resistance here, support here, boom, back up into that level. Now you can see once again a nice downtrend. We can also see this bearish candle in this moving average zone. Given it happened over here and failed, this is a much more bearish candle, and also it's actually rejected a level of old support and resistance. Now if I just draw a fib in, might even get a 38.2, almost a 50% fib actually, even more. So that's quite a confluence occurring around about this area. So if price is to break down through the low of that daily candle on Swiss yen, then I'm certainly interested. Same thing again as what I said on the YM. There's not really too much going on right now until I get that confirmation of it breaking down. If it does give me that confirmation, again I will be looking at those lower time frames for sure. I'm also going to have a look at sterling Swiss. Here we go. And the opposite on sterling Swiss in terms of it's moving higher, or it's looking higher. The trend is a bullish trend at the minute, and I'm going to continue to look for opportunities to the upside. As you can see here, where are we? Oh, daily, that's the one I wanted to look at. As you can see here on the daily, ignore all these lines. Let's just focus on where price is right now. Okay, I'm going to just drag this one up to here. Bit of resistance there right now on this daily chart. Let me zoom out. Couple of levels that are of significance. This one down here, where we are at the bottom of our range on the daily at the minute. If you see here, it's up through here, down here, and back up. The low of that is definitely an old resistance level, resistance and support. The high of that level is also resistance and support. What I'm hoping for, because this is now officially in an uptrend, if it breaks above this high here, it will be in a very strong uptrend. Jump in now and have a look at the weekly so we can sort of move out a little bit further and view it even more. You can see the weekly is in a nice uptrend, pull back into that zone, and it's moved away. Here's the range. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of a few of these lines because it might look a little confusing for you guys, or for me as well for that matter. And let me just zoom out. So you can see, actually we can get rid of, no, I can't get rid of that one. This line and this line is our range that I drew on that daily. Okay, there is resistance coming up. Now the resistance is probably a little bit higher, to be fair, probably around about this level here. That being said, there's still plenty of room between, there's 300 odd points of move or pips between a break of that level and up to here. So naturally what I'm looking for is to see if that level is to break. If it is to break, I'm not saying I'm going to be trading that break just yet because it's not quite set up, but I'll certainly be looking for opportunities to the long side, looking for that move back up around these highs up here. Now we'll keep an eye on this level to see if it does solidify and become a little bit better, but I'm looking for it to come out of that range. Okay, I'd love to see it move to the upside from that range. Obviously it means it would be back into that weekly uptrend on the lower time frames too, and may produce some good opportunities. The last one that I wanted to look at, what was, I think it was natural gas. Yeah, it is nat gas. So let's have a look here on this daily chart. You can see on nat gas we've had this consolidation through here for quite some time. It's a pretty significant support level. And nat gas, as you can see, it has had quite a poor run over the last sort of 12 months or so, and it's continued sideways, but with these lower highs coming in as well, this being the most recent lower high. It's broken down with a bit of convergence there too, and I just want to show it to you on the weekly because it also paints a bit more of a picture of what it looks like long term, and you can see that we have been on this weekly consolidating for quite some time. Last week was a bearish candle that closed below that line. Not that I'm not too worried about where it closes. What it does show more though is that it closed at the low of the week, which is a very bearish sign. It's not a rejection candle like we saw over here. So it does look quite bearish to me, and I'll be looking for opportunities to the short side. What sort of opportunities will I be looking for? Well, my natural selection will be pullbacks up into this area if it does pull back. Other than that, I'll be going down to the lower time frames and just seeing if my trading strategy is set up the way they're meant to, because with all trading you need to know what you're looking for before you go ahead and put the trade on. Now that brings me to this week's webinar. Let's have a look. If you come to the TradeStation International website, you'll actually see what is coming up, and that is the website Day Trading Index Futures. As you can see down here, what this webinar is going to be about is looking at futures markets. Okay, having a look at a lot of different bits and pieces, how to trade within those markets and basically get yourself into that game. All you need to do is click on this little link here, and you can go ahead and register for that webinar here, and you can see all the times in the different parts of the world. It's going to be hosted by Simon Clark, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with, and I'm sure it's going to be quite entertaining because the subject in its own right, as you can see what it's going to be about, it's got some cool stuff in there. So get yourself registered this week, guys. Have a great trading week. It's been a pleasure to be able to fill in for Simon and meet a new audience, and I look forward to hopefully speaking to you again in the not too distant future. Have a great week, guys. Enjoy the webinar. Bye for now.